This historic journey begins with General MacArthur returning to the Philippines in 1944, and with him are shipments of U.S. military equipment aboard U.S. Navy ships, included our Harley-Davidson motorcycles. This episode tells the story of one of those surviving military Harleys. So we go back to the U.S. Navy base in Subic Bay, Republic of the Philippines. And there we'll find shipments of military Harleys being assembled and taken on various roles, including shore patrol, as seen in these rare original photos. Note the SP armband that I highlighted in the original color. These war machines went through tough conditions and survived the abuse from these sailors. And they served even after the war in this 1950 photo. So we fast forward to 1979 and find the USS Reeves, a guided missile cruiser that is on its way to the same Subic Bay Naval Base. And on it is sailor Jerry B. from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jerry heard from another sailor that there was a local guy named Toby Talon that sells World War II Harleys that were left behind after the war. Jerry was able to get shore leave and ended up buying a 1945 Harley-Davidson Flathead. With permission from his captain, he was instructed that he couldn't store it below deck, but could strap it to the aft deck bulkhead behind the missile launcher until he got back to his home port in New Jersey several months later. So until then, the Flathead was in dire need of tires, so he ordered a pair from the United States, using his ship as the mailing address. The USS Reeves received its mail and supplies via helicopter because there was no place to land any aircraft. And several months go by, and while he was out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the supply helicopter arrives above, and his two tires are slowly lowered down to him. He quickly puts them below deck so the captain won't see him. Eventually, with the help of his brother and a U-Haul truck, he was able to get the old Flathead back to his house on 66th Street in Milwaukee, where he still lives today. Here it is in the 1990s, and as you can see, it is what I call civilianized, with all of the original military components replaced by standard civilian parts. This is a very common practice, even to this day. I'll point out some of the major changes here if this was going to be restored back to its original condition. Let's look at the left side as I go through and identify some of the challenges for restoration. Yeah, as you can see, it's missing the original military air filter, so I'm up to the challenge to try to find one. Here's some more issues that I see with this bike. As you can see, there are very few correct parts that will be part of this restoration. All right, how does Flathead Terry know that those parts are correct or not? I used this book written by Bruce Palmer III, and if we look on page 1 here, we're going to see a little note from Bruce. This is something he wrote for me. I've met him personally. Then what we're going to do is go to chapter 4, where he's written extensively on the Navy bikes and Marine Corps as well, very detailed. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch over here to page 306. This contains all the details on the 1944 and 45 Navy models. You can see in here he has gone extensively into all of the different finishes, what the part numbers are, what color they should be, all of it. So he goes into great detail. He also has the original photographs in here from the factory, which are very, very valuable. Using the original factory photos from Bruce's book, I'll point out some specific details that make up a U.S. Navy Big Twin. Note that there is no chrome or emblems to show who the manufacturer was. There are no skirts on the fenders because of the potential muddy conditions it would see during wartime. It also shipped with a right side sidecar. Let's look at the military-only features on the left side. You'll see it has a tall oil bath air cleaner, which I'll show you mine a little bit later, a special carburetor, and steel footboards instead of rubber due to the scarcity of it during the war. According to Bruce's book, only 513 U.S. Navy Big Twins were manufactured in 1945 during the war. So 20 years later, to make a long story short, in 2013, this is basically what I had to work with. It begins in my basement, starting with the original motor and transmission, and my relentless global search for the correct original parts. Is that even possible? Now let's look at the heart of this war relic. What's most important here is making sure the factory VIN stamped on the left side of the crankcase is still original. And this one is, as you can see. Then we look underneath the crankcases and look at the belly numbers. These two are stamped on the manufacturing floor. The 45 at the beginning of both of these belly numbers tells me that it was manufactured in 1945. This L4 code means that it was cast in December of 1944. Let's look at the transmission. It has a reverse gear, which is needed for all of the sidecar models. Alright, let's look underneath the transmission and we're going to find the L4, which means December 1944. And popping the cover off, look inside, those gears look great. We're in good shape there. With the use of eBay, swap meets, Facebook Marketplace, and various websites, I find parts from all over the planet. And as I find and restore the parts, I put them on and adjust their fitment. I strip off the paint and then paint them the correct color and then reassemble them accordingly to the book. I found these original parts and decided to keep them unrestored. The patina was just too cool to restore. Incredibly, I did find this correct air filter in Germany. These are rarer than unicorns because they were removed after the war and discarded due to the size and maintenance. But I was thrilled to have it and restore it back to its original condition and leaving those battle scars on it. With many of the correct parts restored and fitted, it's able to roll now, but it's still in my basement. So with the help of my son, we take it apart and carry it upstairs piece by piece and reassemble it in my garage. It takes several weeks, but I'm sure glad it's up in my garage now. Take note that I have the unrestored motor in it, and to get it running and just to check its performance. Then in November I sent the motor to Don to have it restored correctly. Note that I have painted the U.S. Navy and serial number on the gas tank. This is a picture of the motor before I sent it to Don. And this is after getting it back to its original military configuration. Note that the white paint was used instead of silver due to the shortages of aluminum used in the silver paint. Don did a great job of getting it running perfectly. Here it is when it left the factory, and here it is in my driveway, all restored back to its former glory. And globally, there are only about 10 of these in their original military configuration. Yeah, here's the left side view. But you were wondering what Jerry would think if he were ever to see the bike. Well, there he is, out in front of his house on 66th Street. He couldn't believe it. He was really happy to see it again and in good hands and back to its original condition. Thank you for serving in the Navy, Jerry. So what does it sound like after it's been restored? Over the years, I rode it over 2,500 miles in various club rides, veteran parades, won some awards at the Harley Museum, military air shows, even 30-degree weather. Always turns heads and a lot of thumbs up. Always excited to ride it. And as always, thanks for watching Flathead Terry's Garage.